UFC 311 just recently wrapped up. It was a banger card, and I'm going to give you guys my recap and reaction to everything that went down. Four undefeated fighters took their first losses. There were some prospect busts. There was some broken dreams in the main and co-main event, and there is a lot to talk about. So I'm going to jump into things right away. We'll go first fight of the night, and then we'll work our way up all the way to the main event of the evening. Gonna have a little new look post-fight show. You guys can let me know in the comments how you like it. First up, Tagir Ulanbekov, Clayton Carpenter. This fight was, as it should have been, a Tagir Ulanbekov relatively good control fest. Carpenter did okay. He was trying to strike from the bottom a lot, but when Ulanbekov is on top of you, there's not much you can do. Tagir used his dominant pressure control style, and let's be fair, he used his natural weight bullying size advantage. Tagir Ulanbekov is one of the larger fighters in the flyweight division, and Clayton Carpenter gave him a tough fight. I mean, there was moments where Clayton was throwing hard shots back and looking to wrestle Ulanbekov. He just wasn't ready. 8-1. He's a good up-and-coming flyweight. Only 28 and trains out of MMA Lab. So there's a lot of things to like from him, but ultimately took a pretty clean loss. There was takedowns that worked well for the side of Ulanbekov. There was pressure that worked well for the side of Ulanbekov. And it was, pretty clean W. Pretty clean win. 3 takedowns for him. A bit of control time, like what? Over around 6 minutes, 49 seconds. I just think Tagir Ulanbekov gave him the veteran lesson. I kind of anticipated a possibility of a veteran lesson here, and that's why I went towards the pick side of Tagir Ulanbekov, because you have to favor somebody that's been in there against Alan Nascimento, Bruno Silva, Tim Elliott, Cody Durden, guys of that caliber, whereas like Carpenter hadn't fought anybody good. Carpenter had not fought anybody good. That's the reality of it all. He had fought nobody with skill, really. Like one Camilo Ronderas, Lucas Hosha, I guess Chirez on Contender. It doesn't prepare you for an Ulanbekov. His ceiling is very high, though, and I hope this doesn't kill his confidence. First loss against a Dagestan Savage, I don't think it's too bad. So Tagir Ulanbekov, nice win. But wait, hold on. First fight on the prelims, and then he calls out the champion, Pantoja. Ulanbekov, chill. Chill, my brother. They ain't giving you Pantoja, dog. No way. Dominant decision. I thought it was 30-27. Next fight on the card, Ricky Turcios and Benardo Sopaj. These dudes put on a pretty good back and forth brawl. It was a fun fight. I think that Sopaj has legit top 15 potential. He's still very young, though. He's only 24 years old. His debut was against a freak athlete in Vinicius Oliveira. And yeah, he got dusted with a flying knee, but he was winning moments in that fight. Against Turcios here, he proved to us that he does have a decent gas tank. He was taking some deep breaths in the second and third round, but he didn't like substantially slow down. He definitely withered a bit. But also, even though he wasn't breathing as heavy, did Ricky Turcios. A lot of the time, though, Sopaj doing damage to Turcios, busting him up with big shots, and even knocking him down in the third round and nearly getting the finish. What that did was that also dwindled Turcios' energy levels because he got rocked a lot in this fight. Sopaj landed some bombs. You look at the strikes, and stats will have you believing this was a competitive fight. It was 30-27. Sopaj put it on Turcios. Turcios was tough. He sat in there. He was trying to mix up shots, but he's too sloppy. He's too slow. He's not nearly as slick. He was a step behind Sopaj the whole fight, and Turcios got beaten down. Sopaj was looking for the knockout, but Turcios would not drop. It was a really good win for Sopaj. I mean, Turcios' losses, Raul Rosas, who's a monstrous grappler, and he lost to Ayman Zahabi. Now he loses to Sopaj. Sopaj seems to have good potential. I like Bernardo Sopaj's style. He's only 24, so like I don't want to see him get rushed up the ranks too fast or anything like that. I feel like he's got so much time to grow, but the skill set is legit, and I could see him developing into somebody to watch at 135 pounds. He seems slightly cut from that Topuria cloth. Not as slick, not as, I don't know, not as cocky. Not as cocky in a bad way. He needs a little more arrogance. But he does have a swagger about him. And I think he has a skill set that can work towards the top 15 in due time, though. Not right away. he can't deal with the pace of the top guys. Like, you imagine Sopaj fighting a guy with the cardio like Merab. He can't hang at that level. But, maybe in a few years or so, we'll be talking about him in the top 10 because I see that type of potential. His ceiling's high, whereas with Turcios, no. Turcios is kind of like, holding on to his UFC career by a thread and getting kept around because he's tough and he delivers entertaining fights. But as far as skill for skill, he was completely outmatched. Respect to Sopaj, big W, and part of the Lock City parlay. Massive win. Next fight, it was Rinya Nakamura versus Muin Gafurov. This fight here was a massive upset, a huge prospect bust. The odds, though, I said this all week, stupid for this fight. Rinya Nakamura has shown a lot of promise with his wrestling, but he's beaten all cans. Now, I didn't go out on a whim and pick the massive underdog Gafurov, but I did think that he was being completely disregarded by the lines, and he exceeded the expectations of making this a tough fight. He embarrassed and absolutely dominated Rinya Nakamura in every sense of the word, dropping him, right? Rocking him with punches, taking him down, putting him on his back, dealing with all of Nakamura's wrestling. Nakamura's wrestling came on a little too late. Round 3, he's attacking a bit. He couldn't land takedowns. Gafurov's hips were too good. Nakamura's striking looked relatively rudimentary. I would say like towards the average or below average tier. He really doesn't look to have that much promise, man. And it's like one thing if he was 24, like if he was Sopaj's age, we might be like, well, the skill set could improve. But Nakamura is 29, and he gets talked about by commentary as if he's been bred to be a Japanese MMA champion. He's been training with, high-level guys since he was a kid, but the skill set hasn't quite translated yet. I mean, Muin Gafurov's okay. He was 1-2 in the UFC coming into this. He had fought John Lineker and went to the decision and won championship. He was actually 3-3 in ONE FC, so he's a longtime veteran of fighting. But the way that he beat the brakes off of Nakamura, and he's younger than Nakamura, I think we know Nakamura's level. And unfortunately, it's just something we consistently see. The road to UFC tournament just doesn't produce legit contenders. They produce guys that maybe win a couple, but eventually get beaten down. Ming Yang Zhang can prove us wrong, but he didn't win the show. He just fought on like the Challengers Series part where maybe they sign you. I think Rinya Nakamura, heavily overrated, which I knew coming into this, but exposed and I would say less crafty at wrestling than I even anticipated. You look at the last fight for Gafurov, he was getting taken down and mounted by Kyung Ho Kang, who's a veteran of fighting, but more known for his kickboxing. Rinya Nakamura, this wrestling champion from Japan, not even able to take down Gafurov and trying to strike with him for the most part, that came as a surprise. Gafurov looked very good in this fight, putting a dominant display on Rinya Nakamura and putting some respect on his name and keeping himself on the roster. So shout out Tajikistan. Shout out Gafurov. Big, big upset. Big, big prospect bust and fraud check. Very impressive. Next fight, Karol Rosa, Ailín Pérez. This fight right here was passing through the door for Ailín Pérez. This was her first true test in her UFC career, and she passed it with flying colors. I mean, it was a close fight. It was competitive in moments. The first round was close. Third round, I thought Rosa won. Second round, I thought Pérez got. So competitive fight to the end. But at the end of the day, I think that, the right girl definitely won. If you look at where the momentum favored for the first 2 rounds, I don't know. Watching it live, I kind of thought you could have gave Rosa the first round. She could have squeaked by, but too competitive and close for me to sit here and say, no, that was a BS decision. I don't think so. The 30-27 was really random, though, because I thought Rosa clearly won round number 3. But at the end of the day, Ailín Pérez's wrestling was a key difference maker. Rosa could not consistently stop the takedowns for the first 2 rounds, and it resulted in her losing a decision against a girl who's strong from top position, brings a legit takedown threat, is aggressive and confident, has decent enough striking. Pérez really wants to win. She's gritty, and she starts fast, too, and Rosa got bodied round 1. She got out-wrestled round 1, attacked early. Did a little bit of work late, but enough so to steal it. Maybe not competitive. I don't know. Looking back on the first round, I'm not going to sit and rewatch and reanalyze. I thought it was close, but I can't claim bad decision, even if I thought Rosa had moments, because she was taken down so much. Like, if you give up takedowns at will, you really don't have a strong argument towards being robbed, even though because you landed what? Some volume strikes? Doesn't make a lot of sense. Ailín Pérez, she's an interesting player in the top 10 now. She has a lot of hype simply because the twerk game blows up on social media and it's built her star level a bit quicker than anticipated. But her wrestling's pretty good. When I think about the top of that weight class, I'm trying to see where I would rate Pérez. I'm actually going to quickly look at what the top 11 looks like. So you have Pérez now probably taking the number 10 spot. You have like a Mayra Bueno Silva, Macy Chiasson, Ketlin Vieira. They're actually fighting. Norma Dumont. I could see her fighting like Ketlin Vieira Chiasson winner, to be fair. It could be a fight that gets her, or rather this win could be the win that gets her a big fight. I feel like Norma Dumont deserves a bigger fight, but it could even be a Dumont if availabilities line up. And we know for a fact Pérez is going to be willing to fight. She's got that psycho mentality. She's an Argentine savage. Respect to Ailín Pérez for bringing the thunder. Look how many strikes Rosa landed, and look at significant strikes. Landed 120, only 53 significant, not even half. She doesn't throw enough power. She peppers punches. There's not a lot of like devastating shots. There's a lot of leg kicks, right? There was a lot of leg kicks from her. She was throwing a lot of kicks. But at the end of the day, they did some damage in the third round, but too little too late. Maybe in a 5-round fight, Rosa ekes out a competitive decision. Maybe she ekes out a split. But it's a 3-round fight. You ain't fighting in a title fight. You ain't in a main event. You got to bring the thunder from the start. She takes too long to start. Pérez came out like she got shot out of a cannon. And that's the way you got to start a 3-round fight. So shout out Pérez for a nice W. Next fight on the card. Grant Dawson passed the birthday boy, Diego Ferreira. Difficult anti-wrestling journeyman test. This was the ultimate test for Dawson. He was violently chinned by Bobby Green a little over a year ago. And actually, that stream was legendary. That was a stream after I had gotten jumped. Do you guys remember that? Grant Dawson, he's a gangster. His wrestling pressure style is effective. He is the modern day John Fitch. Is it the most aesthetically pleasing? Maybe not, but it's super effective. And Diego Ferreira, as good as his get-up game normally is, simply couldn't deal with Grant Dawson's pace. But I am going to make a strong statement. Grant Dawson's striking is highly subpar. And if unsuccessful with the wrestling onslaught against some of the better guys in the UFC lightweight division, he's very live to be chinned. Because Ferreira caught him with a couple punches on the feet. They were swinging awkward shots, man. Even the corner tells Dawson windmill. And I think they legitimately got a windmill in a little bit. It doesn't look that bad, but you know what I'm saying. The OG windmill technique, bro. I actually saw that thing work once in a street fight between like these two 10-year-olds, but you know, I doubt it works very often. Respect to Grant Dawson for bringing pressure, out wrestling, controlling Diego Ferreira, and beating Ferreira where he's relatively good, which is at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So shout out Grant Dawson for the win. I was impressed by his performance. I got respect for Dawson. I gotta gain some more. I got to gain some more belief in him. And beating a Diego Ferreira and this type of a grappling dominance is the right way to win. And it continues to grow his stock. But I still got questions around the durability. I still got big questions around it. Let's keep running. Next fight. Sorry, birthday boy. Diego Ferreira, this didn't work out, man. Next fight on the card. Bogdan Guskov versus Billy Elekana. So Bogdan Guskov definitely has added to the narrative that I was pushing earlier in the week that he's not good at grappling. In round number 1, he had his back taken for a vast majority of that round. He was very uncomfortable in the spot, but still, I guess, surviving. I got to give him some credit. But never was able to find his way out, really. Was just surviving. And Elekana was trying to shoot for that rear naked choke, but it just never opened itself up to him. And then round 2, bro, Elekana, I guess actually, respectfully speaking, Bogdan Guskov finished the first round well. I got to walk that back because he locked in the rear naked choke after scrambling out of the back control at the end. So I guess he did get out. He showed some promise there. Elekana got tired. And then Bogdan had the rear naked locked in. Elekana tapped when the bell rang in round number 1, and it didn't count as a stoppage, but he also looked like he went to sleep for a second. The fight then continues into round 2, and Elekana had nothing left. He looked uncomfortable on the feet. He was still throwing shots back, but Guskov was stalking him, just patiently waiting for the best opportunities to attack. and he landed some clean shots, touched up Elekana a bit, and they think that Elekana probably could have got stopped standing. The ref let it go, and then like Elekana's on his knee just getting hit, and Bogdan's like, all right, fuck this. Like, I've rocked this guy how many times? He's just turtling up and not doing anything. Let me just grab a ghillie. So double submission. Bogdan Guskov to win by submission was crazy odds, plus 1,500. To win by submission twice in one fight, plus 3,000. He literally got 2 subs on Elekana. So I guess maybe the jiu-jitsu's more crafty than I'm giving him any credit for. Elekana came in on super short notice. He wasn't ready for this level. Bogdan's pretty good. His striking's dangerous. He's like a modern day Savage. I don't know. I was going to say Krzysztof Sosinski for the OGs, but he's better than Krzysztof. He would have knocked Krzysztof Sosinski out in the first round. He's good. He's got slick stand-up. His ground game's just mid. I don't know. I mean, it's okay. It's survive-worthy, but, I mean, he still got choked out by Volkan Oezdemir, who's a boxer style. We'll see what's next for Bogdan. I'm not opposed to the rebooking against Johnny Walker. I kind of favor that idea over anything else, simply because at least if we see him and Johnny Walker, then he gets exposed by Walker, we know for sure. Then if we jump him up the ranks, like, what are we doing? I want to see Johnny Walker and Bogdan fight. I think that Bogdan's life to chin Walker, to be honest. They're good friends, though, so they may be like, bro, let's not rebook this. We're boys. And I guess I could respect that. I mean, we look at Merab, who's a dominant champ now. Never wanted to fight his boy Aljo. I got to shout the Zins out real quick. Shout out to the Zins. We're going to pop one in. Not an official sponsor of the show yet, but 2025, we hope they come. We hope the Zin is coming, my brother. We hope it's so. Bogdan Guskov did his thing, man. Come on. What else is there to say? He was accurate with his boxing. He fought out of early submission attempts. Elekana had balls. He'll probably cut to 185. He looked okay at 205. I think that he did the right thing taking this fight because it gets him on the UFC roster, which is damn hard to do unless you go through the Contender Series or take a short notice fight. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, Zachary Reese versus Azamat Bekoev. This was a short notice edition fight, and I ended up going towards Azamat Bekoev on Wednesday. When I started digging in a little more on this guy, I'm like, this dude's fucking strong, man. Like, Russian wrestler versus, country boy, I just favor the Russian wrestling. Is it my inherent bias towards the Russian fighters? Maybe slightly, with the EV, OV last names as well. We got OEV. He's got like plus 10 power in wrestling for sure. And his ground and pound was ferocious. Beat the fuck out of Zach Reese on the round. Zach Reese is trying to use too much jiu-jitsu, man. He's trying to throw up arm bars and triangles. No, get up to your feet. Bekoev smashes passes and just beats the piss out of him from top position. And Zach Reese got viciously knocked out on the ground in round 1. Bekoev looked really good. This is the type of win that jumps the stock a lot. I was saying it leading up to the fight. Reese, he's like an unknown wild card. Zach Reese, okay, he knocked out Julian Marquez's corpse in 20 seconds. But then the fight against Jose Medina, he goes out there and, let's be honest, he goes distance. He wins somewhat dominantly. He still got taken down. Then a Russian pressure wrestler is not going to get him down. Now, Bekoev was even more dominant than I thought he would have been because he just beat the hell out of him easily and knocked Reese out from top position. He generates a lot of force. The dude's in great physical condition, and that definitely bumps the confidence up. I'm excited for what's next. He made a big call to the division. He put everybody on notice. I think, slow climb to the top, but the dude's 19-3 as a pro. That's a really impressive record. He's a former LFA champ. He's been fighting at a decent level for years, and I'm excited to see him inside of the UFC. This is actually a really good short notice signing, because if on short notice he can come out and perform like this, what happens when he has a full camp? Dude wasn't even preparing for a fight. He was just training, and he comes out looking like this. That's pretty badass. 29 years old, too. I feel like he's primed to do a little something. Outside of the rankings, I think he'll get some cool wins. I'll be back in Azamat Bekoev. I'm going to keep a close eye on him. I'm assuming they turn him around relatively quick because I want to see him fight again. So, shout out Azamat, running through Reese. Unfortunately, Cody Brundage slamming him and KOing him didn't stick in people's minds enough because I know a lot of people loved him as a dog, but Russian savagery, my brother. Russian savagery. Next fight on the card. The featured prelim of the night. Guys, drop a tear. It's time to shed one. Payton Talbott gets absolutely exposed in this fight. Now, in his UFC debut, he's shown, some deficiencies in wrestling early in that fight, but we took it as UFC debut woes. Beat the hell out of Cameron. Excuse me. I'm choking over here, man. Choking up, guys. I'm choking up on stream. Choking up on video, I should say. I'm not live. I feel like I'm live. I'm sorry. This is an emotional moment for me, man. Payton Talbott goes Payton Talbott. Giannis Gamori's knockout. Now we look at Gamori's terrible at fighting. Cameron Simon's unproven. Rogan on the broadcast. He beat good veteran Cameron Simon. I'm like, huh? Simon's a prospect, man. Simon's best known for his interview with MMA Guru, I think, at this point. And obviously the losses to Talbott and C-Rod. Hani Barcelos just wrestle-fucked him and beat the shit out of him. Not like a boring wrestler. He, beat his ass. In striking, Talbott connected with some clean shots, but he was still getting hit, too, and he looked too stiff. When they tied up, Barcelos was too strong. He gave him, in essence, exactly what a veteran lesson is. 8 takedowns out of 15. There was one cool throw from Payton Talbott. It was like a trip throw. I don't remember the exact name. Cormier said it on the broadcast. It was like you sweep out the leg and you throw this way. It's a badass technique. Talbott landed that. That was cool for him. But other than that, he got the shit kicked out of him, and he finished the fight getting fucked up. In round 3, he was trying to land some decent shots, and then Barcelos drags him to the ground, just beat the hell out of him. Levels, 9 minutes, 43 seconds control time, 8 takedowns, 91 strikes. Man, he outstruck him too. 62 significant strikes, hit him more to the head, rocked him a bit. Not like wobbled him, but rocked his head back. Talbott landed some decent shots, but he couldn't hang with a savage Brazilian vet. And we got to put respect on the former national wrestling champ of Brazil. He definitely can wrestle. And Payton Talbott, no wrestling for Payton Talbott, man. Slick striking. But wasn't enough in this fight. With such a wrestling threat, you saw what happened. He just got stifled. He got scared on the feet in a sense, right? In essence, it would be hesitant would be the proper word. Scared would be a little bit of a more harsh way to put it. But he was so worried about the takedown threat coming against him that he really couldn't let his striking game flow without takedown incoming, or then Barcelos hitting him because he's so fearful of getting put on his back. That's what Barcelos did to him. Veteran lesson. That's the essence of it. The Payton Talbott stock takes a nosedive. He was too wide of a favorite, minus 1,300. Oh my gosh. Now we look at it. Barcelos was disrespected like crazy. We all thought he was going to take an L. Everybody did. I don't know anybody who picked Barcelos. But respect to Hani Barcelos proving that betting lines are bullshit and it's all about the fight. It is. It's all about the fight. We can talk odds all day, but it's all about the fight. And I got to say, I respect OG. We should all respect the OG. We have to. So, Hani Barcelos, W to you, my man. You deserve a lot of respect. You put on a good performance. I'm not going to overlook you. I'm not going to disregard you. I'm going to say nice things. That's what an OG does. He beats the hell out of a young kid who's painting his toenails and shit. I know Barcelos thinks that shit's weird, and he was like, dog, I ain't losing to this guy. Masculine Brazilian man, right, that looks 50. He's only 37, but an OG Brazilian, old school. If he would have took that loss, he would have never lived it down in Brazil. And respect to him getting it done. Hani Barcelos exposing Payton Talbott as a prospect, man. He's going to need to take a step back. I hope we see Talbott fight again. Hopefully he doesn't just, do his YouTube channel or something. I hope he does another fight. His striking's real good. He's got a lot of work to do in wrestling. Barcelos, crafty OG. Shows you it ain't easy to be like a Sean O'Malley and make your way up to the top like he did. Next fight, Kevin Holland versus Reinier de Ridder. This actually started off our main card, so make sure you guys smash the like button if you haven't. And if you're new to the channel and you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure you hit subscribe. Kevin Holland, he got exposed, but we've seen him exposed how many times now? It just continued to show that he refuses to evolve as a fighter. He likes fighting. He is a career fighter, but he's a fighter that's going to stick to what he likes, and he's not going to challenge himself in ways that would help him exceed as a fighter. He's a journeyman. That's the exact way to put it. Kevin Holland is a certified journeyman forever now. He's not on the contender contract anymore. Reinier de Ridder took him down, beat him up, and choked him out. I mean, Holland was trying to throw up a triangle, trying to throw shots from the bottom, but the Ritter was too heavy on top. And he locks up the rear naked choke in the first round. 3 minutes, 30 seconds, easy work. Kevin Holland did nothing. He offered no defense. He has refused to improve his takedown defense, and he refuses to use a get-up game. He just tries to use jiu-jitsu from the bottom. As Islam Makhachev, who give him black belt? Black belt, brother? Fake black belt. Who gives him the black belt? I guess, Luder gave it to him, who's an OG. But my gosh, bro. The Ritter shows there's levels. You might have a black belt around your waist, but shit. Reinier the Ritter's grappling was different. He actually looked crafty. Reinier the Ritter gets a top 15 fight next. Actually, I'm going to pick an opponent for him live. I want to give Reinier the Ritter a fight right now. I'm thinking of the top 15, but I'm just going to put it in my face. Easy money against Kevin Holland. It'd be kind of cool, but I don't know if it's going to happen to see Reinier the Ritter fight like a Jack Hermanson. That's an interesting fight. I think he's live to choke out Michel Pereira. The Ritter Kopylov could be interesting, right? Striker versus grappler AF in that fight. I don't know if Vettori is even going to take the fight. He's ranked a little too far up. He could fight the Ali Askarov Andre Muniz winner, but they might look to move him up the ranks faster than that. Another idea might be the Iron Turtle. There's some names from Abus Magomedov, but beating Kevin Holland just seems like a fight that gets you something in the top 15. And I favor him fighting somebody ranked. Let me actually look at the official rankings. I was looking at Tapology, but bro, Tapology is so out of order with their rankings sometimes. It doesn't make any sense. Official rankings. Official rankings. I'll actually put it on screen so you guys can see. Dricus du Plessis here. Michel Pereira. Quick win. Michel needs a fight. Michel's holding on to that ranking spot, but his grappling's mad sus, and so is his gas tank. You might go De Ritter and Michel Pereira. That kind of makes sense. I like the Jack Hermanson fight a lot, though, because Hermanson's not been fighting. He's been super inactive. So the Jack Hermanson fight catches my eye as well. Hermanson needs to fight. He's been out for a while. Hermanson, De Ritter, #1 choice, but I'd watch the Pereira fight. But seeing how bad Pereira's grappling, I don't even think he's taking that fight. He knows. He knows what would come. Kevin Holland, I got no idea, bro. I got no idea. He's trying to fight Rampage earlier in the week. What the hell is that, man? Holland refuses to evolve, and that's why he's 26-13. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card. Jailton Almeida versus Serghei Spivak. This fight here was 1 round, and it was a pretty back-and-forth fight, though. We saw Spivak land a takedown early on Jailton Almeida and actually get some ground and pound off. We saw a reversal by Almeida and him even getting to mount, and then Spivak was able to pull off a reversal and get back on top. And then we got into the striking realm, which was kind of crazy, right? Because, yes, Jailton Almeida had Spivak's back for a bit, but he wasn't really ever close for the rear naked choke. And then Spivak able to get on top, and then the scramble by Almeida, they go to the feet. And Almeida rocks him. Was it an uppercut? I think it was an uppercut he hit him with. His boxing looked good. Rocks Serghei Spivak, has Spivak moving away from him, stunned, and then beats the hell out of him against the cage and gets a stoppage. Jailton Almeida's stock jumped in this fight. He showcased some stand-up. A lot of people think he has no striking. He's pretty explosive. He's got some speed with his hands. He used to box, I believe. He has some Brazilian boxing in the repertoire, even though he's known for his ground skills. He's got some thudding shots, and he called out Ciryl Gane after, which makes perfect sense. Ciryl Gane coming off of the very controversial win against Volkov. You could see Jailton Almeida Volkov as an option, but the Ciryl Gane fight just makes more sense. Already a call out by Jailton Almeida. I want to see that matchup. We know how flawed Ciryl Gane is on the ground. And to be fair, I mean, if you count the Volkov win, that was also a win for Gane, even though I thought he lost. But before that, Gane beat up Serghei Spivak. Jailton Almeida versus Ciryl Gane intrigues me a lot, especially with the vulnerabilities we've seen from Gane on the ground. I could see Almeida pressuring, taking him down, and absolutely wrecking him on the floor. Ciryl Gane might not take that fight. He might try and finagle his way into a Tom Aspinall fight if the John Jones retirement rumors hold up, even though I think the UFC is going to get that fight made. Jailton Almeida is a hard fight for Ciryl Gane, and I'd probably favor Jailton Almeida to strangle Ciryl Gane or maybe even finish him with ground and pound because Gane's grappling is just too flawed. Jailton Almeida is still legit at heavyweight. He kind of got written off because of the Curtis Blades loss for a little bit. But, I think he's back amongst the elite, and he deserves a big fight. And the Ciryl Gane fight is the fight that I want. Curtis Blades is a heavy-handed wrestler. That's not what Spivak is. Spivak is a top control wrestler, arm triangles, does have a tricky bottom game he showed against Tybura, but it's Tybura. There's levels. He's not hitting an armbar in Almeida. And then in striking, Spivak is pretty bad. Spivak's pretty bad at boxing. He's a pretty low-caliber striker. And Jailton Almeida made him look that way. Good knockout for Jailton, showing some knockout power, showing some hands on him, and his grappling skill. I was impressed. Next fight on the card, Yuri Prochazka, Jamal Hill. It was a banger. It was a great back and forth fight. I absolutely loved it. Yuri Prochazka pulls off the hard-fought win. It wasn't easy. Jamal Hill was in that fight, and he was swinging hard shots, good straight punches, trying to touch up Prochazka. And at moments, he caught him with decent shots, but it was still, the aura was Prochazka's. First round, Yuri Prochazka landed a knockdown on Jamal Hill, dropped him towards the end of the first round. Prochazka busted Jamal Hill up. His nose was leaking blood. He looked beaten on. It looked like he'd already gone 5 rounds by the end of round number 1, and he was already starting to breathe out of his mouth. Prochazka's awkward striking flow made it very uncomfortable for Jamal Hill. He was catching Jamal with like weird looping shots and an awkward exchange. Then caught him with that looping over the hand punch, or overhand punch, I should say. And he dropped him. Now, Jamal Hill was able to recover and was still throwing shots back, but Prochazka definitely took the first round. But round 2 was different. Now, there was a really bad eye poke in round 2, and Prochazka needed a lot of time to recover. There was also a quick eye poke on Hill, but different level, right? Jamal Hill clawed the eyes of Prochazka. Doctor comes in. It's like, oh my God, is this going to be a no contest? Thankfully, they let him go. Yuri Prochazka lost the striking battle in round 2. He had moments, but Jamal was a little bit more precise. I scored round 2 for Jamal Hill. I think he did enough to tie it up. And it was 1-1 going into round 3, and Yuri Prochazka would not be denied. His head movement was on point. He had really good reflexes. He was catching Jamal Hill with big shots. Now, to be fair, in round 2, Jamal Hill also worked some devastating body punches, which I just missed out on mentioning that I need to say now just to talk about round 2. Straights to the body, right? He's touching Prochazka to the stomach, and you could tell Prochazka was not liking the body work. Prochazka had to dig deep, but in round 3, he got the job done. He's able to rock Jamal Hill with a big shot, put him down again, throw some big shots on top, big ground and pound, heavy shots, devastating punches. Hill's trying to survive. He's trying to scramble, get up. More shots from Prochazka, falls down. He's on his, side position, like turtled up, and then the ref jumps in. It was a perfect stoppage. Jamal Hill was done. He was trying hard to get up, but Prochazka was landing so many shots as Hill was looking to get back up to his feet, and he was just wobbling. At the end, he was gone. There was nothing left. His legs were done. He had been dropped multiple times in the fight. He gotten hit with a ton of significant shots, and when Prochazka would hit Jamal Hill, there was an obvious difference in the effect that it had on the fighter as opposed to the contrary. Like, yeah, Hill touched Prochazka to the head, but Prochazka still comes. His chin was too much. He touched him to the body. Prochazka moved away a bit, but he was able to recover. Yuri Prochazka is a gangster, man. In that unorthodox style, that awkward flow, those looping punches worked against Jamal's straight punches, as I predicted they would. Prochazka got it done by knockout. And it went into the later stages. It went all the way in round 3. It was a great fight. This fight was high caliber. This, in another card, this could have been fight in the night. But with the co-main event, I mean, come on. We'll talk about the co-main event in a second. But I just want to sit for a second and think, wow, Yuri Prochazka, he still got it, man. It's just, to beat Alex Pereira, bro, it's Alex Pereira. There's levels to the game. Prochazka is elite. Pereira is just too precise. Nothing about this fight tells me he's ready for something different. In respect to Prochazka for donating to the oncology patients and having his big fan who's battling cancer out. So we want to wish her well, too. Prayers to her. We wish her a speedy recovery. I want to give her that also. He said he wants to fight Pereira after the fight. And I'm like, dog, that fight's unlikely. A third fight against Pereira, too much of a reach. I'm going to look at light heavyweight. Who makes sense? Jan Blachowicz, Carlos Ulberg winner is the perfect fight. If not that, Khalil Roundtree, because they may potentially do the Ulberg-Jan winner versus Ankalaev if, the stars align, or versus Pereira. It really depends on if Pereira and Ankalaev, who are now confirmed to fight, if you didn't know, Pereira Ankalaev, let's say Pereira beats Ankalaev, is a pure hypothetical. I think that Ulberg or Blachowicz could clearly be a next one. And then for, Ankalaev, if he wins, they probably run it back, to be honest with you. So Yuri versus the Ulberg and Blachowicz winner doesn't seem like a bad fight at all. It's actually really interesting. I just am curious to witness Khalil Roundtree and Yuri at some point, but I'm not sure that if it makes sense right now. Let's keep running up the card. Next fight, co-main event of the evening. Merab Dvalishvili, Umar Nurmagomedov. Amazing back and forth. Decision that was pushed by the UFC is they believe Umar Nurmagomedov got the win. They believe Umar did enough. I don't. I don't believe that. That's not true. I picked Umar Nurmagomedov to win. Full transparency, full disclosure. I really believed he would take this decision. I thought the scorecards, which you looked at for Merab, would be the scorecards for Umar at the end. Pre-fight. Witnessing unfold, Merab did enough to win. It was competitive, but Merab outdogged Umar. Round number 1, Umar looked so slick. He looked awesome. He looked like the best bantamweight in the world. Round 2, looks good as well. He's defending all the takedowns. He looked good on the feet. But Merab would not be denied. He starts bringing the pressure to Umar in a different way in round 3, mixing in the takedowns, landing decent punches in combination. And he has Umar starting to show some signs of fatiguing and looking uncomfortable on the feet. I thought Merab definitely took a competitive round 3. Round number 4, Merab with more pressure, backing Umar up, putting him into compromised spots, making him uncomfortable, staying in his face. I thought Merab did enough to get it as well. Round 5, Merab all day. Umar looked slick early, but then Merab actually rocks Umar with a looping, I believe it was a looping right. Clean shot, lands. Umar a little wobbled. Merab with pressure, backing him up, throwing hard. For the first portion of round number 5, Umar was looking slick and winning. A lot of it was defensively and then counter-striking, defending takedowns, counter-striking. Merab would just refuse to be denied, and then at the end, he's landing takedowns, he's getting on top, throwing a bit of ground and pound, and he finishes the fight in a good position. Or at least the very end. And then towards like the final bell, he's moving away as Umar's walking it down. And you can see a difference in how they carried themselves after the fight. Merab seemed so confident, hands up, gets on the cage. He truly believed that he won. Umar puts his hands up, and he looked fatigued. He looked tired. I didn't think he had a lot left. I thought Umar lost that 5th round for sure. Rounds 1 and 2 were Umar 1,000%. 3, 4, and 5, I believe, were Merab's. Now, I will give this fight a rewatch, and then we could, discuss further. I should probably rewatch specifically 3, 4, and 5. Those are the rounds, and I guess we can discuss during the live stream. I just believe Merab's relentless pressure and the body language of Umar later in the fight, 3, 4, and 5, they favored Merab winning. I think Merab won. And I mean, you wouldn't be surprised, right? I picked Umar. I was confident on him. You would think that I would have found biases to say Umar's going to win, but I'm pretty non-biased. I think Merab outworked him. I think Merab outdogged him. I do. I believe Merab outdogged him, and he humbled Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar was talking crazy shit. Both talk shit, but Umar crossed the line a little bit earlier this week. It's a really underrated news story, which I reacted to, where he's saying he's more Georgian than Merab. I thought that was pretty troubling, knowing what the relationships with Georgia and Russia are like. Shit. Umar, even though he's Dagestan, he's representing Russia. He said Merab's not a man. There was a lot of disrespect from Umar this week. I'm an Umar Nurmagomedov fan. Regardless of the disrespect outside the cage, I like Umar. I think he's extremely good. And I feel as though he'll be a world champion. He's world champ level. But Merab just brought the thunder late and stole those final rounds. Even if it was by this much, it was by this much, which separates a winner from a loser. Now, the visible effect, yes, on the face of Merab, he looked a little more beaten up. But as far as the body language, Merab was confident, had gas where he probably could have won another 5 rounds, where Umar was done. At the end of the fight, Umar was tired. Even as Merab's walking away, if Umar really had oomph, he would have tried to swing shots at the very end. He didn't. Merab Dvalishvili stole the fight, and he got into his flow around the 3rd round, and that's when he took over. Landing key takedowns. He shot 30 takedowns. He landed 7. The wrestling was on point. The pressuring striking was on point. When the fatigue set in, Merab's striking was effective. In the first 2 rounds, though, Umar looked way better than him. Umar, I'm telling you, first 2 rounds, Umar looked like the best bantamweight on the planet. He looked incredible in the first 2 rounds. 3, 4, and 5, things got difficult for him. He even was able to get Merab down and have his back in the second, I believe. But things changed later. Fatigue set in. Confidence seemed to drop a bit. And Merab just wouldn't let up. He would not be denied. And that's why Merab Dvalishvili is still the bantamweight champ. And oh my God, what do you do next, though? This is the question that everybody's probably wondering what the answer will be. I can tell you that from the way the UFC broadcast table spoke, it seems like the UFC is already on the push Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili 2 fight. And let me tell you also why. It was revealed that Umar broke his hand. Shout out to Hernanov, one of my subscribers, for sending me that. That was gangster shit. I was really happy about that. The hand broke. The hand broke in round 1, which obviously would affect the performance and the striking output and the danger of the striking. That starts the narrative of a rematch. If I had to pick between Merab Umar 2 or O'Malley versus Merab 2, I feel like I want the Umar fight because this was one of the best bantamweight fights ever. What are the odds that the second fight is as good? Hard to say. Like, in essence, this fight was incredible. It wasn't just a swanging and banging wild brawl. There was great moments of exchanges, but what it showcases is literally the highest level of MMA ability everywhere. These guys looked amazing. Both of them deserve praise and respect. This fight was awesome, and I would love to see them do it again. Now, if they go the O'Malley route, a fight that I think would be so cool, Umar Nurmagomedov, Petr Yan. I'm really interested in that fight. I'd be curious to see it. Less interested, though, in O'Malley versus Nurmagomedov. Less interested in O'Malley versus Dvalishvili, too. I feel as though Merab Umar is probably the route the UFC is going to go down. Nurmagomedov taking a loss. Team Dagestan, specifically Team Habib, takes a rare loss, especially in a championship. This is not a common thing. We don't see this. I think they probably do it again. And I think this time they probably do it in like Abu Dhabi or something like that. Merab might be forced into the spot. I don't know how quick he's ready to turn around or not. He had an injury leading up to the fight, the sliced up shin, but he said he was good on fight day. It just affected his training. I'm down for them to run it back. So, Merab had a subpar camp. Umar broke his hand. I don't think anybody's going to complain about a rematch. It'd be a great fight. The first fight, this one was amazing. It was an all-time great bantamweight fight. I agree with the commentary there. I don't agree with the commentary and the false narrative that Umar won. I think Merab took it 3 rounds to 2, but Umar had great moments. It's arguable that Umar gets the rematch, especially when you look at that division. You have a lot of Merab victims, to say the least. I mean, let's look. Top 5, UFC bantamweight division. Sean O'Malley, Merab beat. Umar, Merab beat. Petr Yan, Merab beat. So the top 3 is all guys that Merab has beaten. Sandhagen coming off the loss to Umar. Figueiredo coming off the loss to Yan. Vera's not going to get the fight. There's no chance of that. Cejudo, I mean, he's got a fight booked versus Song Yadong. They're not going to give Cejudo a title fight. So if you pick between the 3, which rematch sells you more? Petr Yan versus Merab? Sure, it's a big fight, but it doesn't have the compelling narrative of a Nurmagomedov and Merab beating him by close fashion and, arguably controversial to the UFC brass, even though I disagree on that. The O'Malley fight, O'Malley pushed that he thought he should have won, but I thought that Merab definitely got the win. It's unsure what the UFC is going to do because which is the bigger fight? Numbers-wise, O'Malley Dvalishvili or Nurmagomedov Dvalishvili 2, I think as a hardcore of the game, like Umar Nurmagomedov and Merab Dvalishvili 2 was such an amazing fight between 2 guys that are amazing everywhere. Seeing it again would be a spectacle. Granted, O'Malley's a slick striker. He's got a big fan base. I don't know. I kind of like the Umar rematch. I think that's the route they'll go down. And then the question is, then what do you do with O'Malley? You're doing Yan O'Malley too, which makes a lot of sense because Yan kind of got robbed their first time. That's a great fight. We'll see what the UFC decides. We'll find out in coming months. They have two compelling options. I guess it's not bad for the UFC that I'm sitting here pondering back and forth which fight would be better. They both would be awesome. But the Umar fight just moves the needle different for me. I think they'll probably do Merab Umar too. And if Merab 2-0s Umar, that'd be insane. Like the issue is this, I think, for the UFC. Let's say go Merab Umar 2, though. If Umar wins, then do they not do another rematch? They do the trilogy? They run it back again? If you go O'Malley, Merab wins. Okay, O'Malley's now out of the picture. But if O'Malley wins, then they got to run it again. Where's Umar go? Petr Yan? They're not going to give it to him. The Nurmagomedov Dvalishvili fight was so good that it's so easy to sell it again. So easy to say, let's run it back. It was such a great fight. It was way better than O'Malley versus Merab. I don't know. I'm excited to find out, though. We'll see soon. Both guys put great accounts for themselves. Merab's gas tank is unreal. I don't understand. What is he made of? Dude is different. And I think he deserved the win. Incredible fight. Badass co-main event. Especially, like, this was like an amazing co-main event that showed such a competitive skill set on both sides where they went tooth and nail, whereas the main event was the complete opposite. Let's jump up to the main event. And if you guys are enjoying, make sure you smash that like button. Show me some love. And definitely let me know how you like the new look post-fight show. I think I like the graphics more than the usual. Islam Makhachev embarrassed Renato Moicano. I love Renato Moicano. Bro, I wore a Bitcoin shirt. Now, I didn't pick Moicano. Makhachev and Sopaj was the Lock City parlay, if you were wondering. Come on, bro. I didn't pick Moicano. But I like him as a fan. I was excited for him. I at least said, let me throw on a Bitcoin shirt out of respect. This fight was interesting, right? First couple seconds, I mean, Moicano kind of landed a jab as Makhachev landed a straight. There was a little exchange of shots where Makhachev slipped and like it kind of got the crowd going. But then Makhachev was in on the takedown, put Moicano on his back. Makhachev on top, controlled, right? There was the, half guard, and then Moicano trying to scramble. He's trying to create space. And then for a moment, he gets a scramble. He gets under Makhachev. And I knew it was wraps because Islam Makhachev is known for, and if you watch the Mighty Mouse's podcast, he literally talked about how Makhachev has the most amazing Darce choke he's ever seen. And he just kept getting caught in it. And yeah, Moicano locked in a Darce choke towards the end of round one and forced the tap. There is no Rocky story in the UFC, in the fight game at the highest level. Pound for pound, number one fighter in the world in his prime does not lose to Renato Moicano. I get it, though. It was fun to dream. I was excited beforehand at the possibilities, but deep down we all knew. And after the fact, we were like, okay, there was such a level difference. This wasn't even a close fight. Number 10 in the world at lightweight versus number one pound for pound dominant champ. That's what you saw. 4 minutes of work, and it was dominant. Dana White confirmed that Sarukian's not next in line for a title. Probably Charles Oliveira Makhachev too. That's the needle-moving fight. Ilia Topuria made a call out. He went to Twitter. He immediately made a call out. He's trying to get that fight against Makhachev. I don't think so. Makhachev looks so good. Can we just praise Makhachev for a couple minutes? Can we just praise Makhachev for a few? Makhachev on the ground is sensational. His grappling IQ is unreal. He was pissed off because Umar lost. You could tell. And he made it easy against Moicano. He was like, I'm angry now. I'm going to showcase everything. And the black belt of Moicano, Makhachev said he has questions about after. He flamed him with that. 27-1, good everywhere. What more do you want? Makhachev's pound for pound number one. Even Dana admitted it after the fight. All right, Makhachev's number one pound for pound. But what's so weird, he was like, okay, he beat the number 10 guy, and now you finally admit that he's number one pound for pound? We can't admit that he's number one pound for pound after beating Volkanovski twice? Can't admit it then? Can't admit it after beating Dustin Poirier with a staph infection? But you beat number 10, 1 day notice, Money Moicano. Okay, now here you go. 4 title defenses at lightweight. Makhachev is doing shit that's unheard of, man. He's following the Khabib legacy well, but he's exceeding the Khabib legacy as far as length and the dominance of his reign. Islam, he's looking so good right now, and it's hard to imagine him losing. I was confidently picking him against Arman Sarukian. Of course, he's pound for pound number one. He deserves it. when we look at the division, Arman Tsarukyan ranked 1. Competitive win over Oliveira that could have gone either way. So Oliveira coming off the win might be jumping into the spot, especially with Dana saying they're going to make Tsarukyan work for it. Unfortunate for Tsarukyan, man. That sucks. He was right there at the promised land. Now he's got to earn his keep. But same thing happened to Oliveira. When Oliveira was supposed to fight, Volk stepped in, is what it is. Gaethje is going to be fighting against Dan Hooker. I don't think that those guys are far out of the picture, but I mean, Dan Hooker got destroyed by Makhachev in their first fight, so a rematch is a hard sell. If Gaethje wins, he puts himself back in the mix for sure as the former, BMF champ. Poirier's already a victim of Makhachev. Max Holloway at number 5, coming off the bad loss to Ilia Topuria. He's not getting a title fight off a loss. Obviously, Chandler's not getting it. Gamrot lost to Hooker. I hate to say it to Dana White, but Arman Tsarukyan's name is right there. Okay, sure, you can go for the fan-sided fight of Oliveira. That's cool. But Tsarukyan beat him. Like, if you want to punish Tsarukyan for pulling out on short notice, I get it, right? For the business side, they got fucked. And they had to scramble to make a main event, which in all actuality was exciting for the storyline of the narrative of the what if. But as far as high-level ability, like, you saw it. The level of Moicano was not it. He was not the number 1 contender. Obviously, he might not have beaten Beneil Dariush, but that's besides the point. I still think Makhachev Tsarukyan 2 is cool. It's a really compelling fight, but I have a feeling they're going to go towards this Oliveira rematch, especially because Oliveira was there. And I'm sure Charlie O would have took the fight. Oliveira Makhachev 2. Makhachev Oliveira 2. Do you guys hear that? I do. I think that's what we see. And hopefully not too far away either, man. UFC 313 is looking stacked in March. I don't know if they're going to do it in April. Maybe May. Makhachev comes back when he fights Oliveira. They're going to make Tsarukyan do one more. But what is Tsarukyan? He's going to fight Poirier? I don't think they do it. This is what they're going to do. I'll tell you what they're going to do. Poirier, Holloway. They run the trilogy for the BMF title. We got Gaethje Hooker. If Gaethje wins, he's in the mix for a shot at Makhachev because he hasn't fought him yet. They might do Oliveira, Makhachev. Tsarukyan then has to wait. What is he going to do? Fight Gamrot? Was he going to fight Michael Chandler? I think they might be spiting Tsarukyan now, but as they get into the matchmaking room and they start discussing what's next for Islam, I think there's a possibility that Tsarukyan is the right fight. I'm still interested in that fight. And even after this performance, now I'm kind of craving to see Tsarukyan and Makhachev too. I want to find out exactly how it looks because I think Makhachev looks unbeatable. I had said leading up to the Tsarukyan fight, I said, I could see Makhachev catching him with the Darce. Did that exact move to Moicano now, but I could have seen him potentially locking Tsarukyan in that same move, trying to shoot a takedown on him. I don't think Oliveira beats Makhachev. I don't think anybody's beating Makhachev. None of the lineup, man. He wants to jump up in weight. The issue is he's friendly with both Shavkat and Belal Muhammad. Shavkat even had Abdullah Nurmagomedov in his corner in the past. Doubtful that we see Makhachev go up and fight because, after the fight, he likes my belt. Give me the next challenger. The one name which definitely excites fans is Ilia Topuria, but I feel like he's got work to do at his weight class. The Volkanovski rematch, you got to give old man Volk a second go, right? Diego Lopez on the come up right now. If he beats Yair, he's probably next in line. Movzar somewhere in the mix. Who knows who he's going to end up fighting next. But there's contenders that Topuria hasn't handled yet. So to now go and make a jump up and wait. But to be fair, he did beat back-to-back GOATs in the UFC featherweight division. So if there was a time to do it, maybe now. But if he beats Volk then a second time, it even more pushes for his case. I don't think he's going to stick around and be that crazy about fighting a Lopez or a Movzar. They don't move the needle nearly as much as a double champ chance. And I think the mentality Topuria has, he really wants to step in there against pound for pound number 1. Topuria is at number 4 pound for pound. How cool would it be? The issue is, like, for Makhachev, does he ever get a shot to go up in weight? It's his own fault, him being buddies with Belal and him being cool with Shavkat. Whoever wins that fight. Now he's like, I don't want to fight. So then he's got to hope for what? Jack Della becoming champ? Somehow Ian Gary getting the belt? Usman turning around and getting a belt? You get what I mean? Too many friends in the fight games. Rough. I'd be intrigued by Makhachev Bilal. It'd be an interesting fight. Or Makhachev Shavkat. I don't know, man. When he says he's cool with them like that, the respect they have between one another, and even Bilal training with Team Habib and obviously Abdullah, like I said, formerly cornering Shavkat at one point, doesn't seem that likely. Makhachev Oliveira, too, just seems like what's going to be next. Even though, personally, I think Sarukian getting a shot is fair. Even though he pulled out, he did the UFC kind of dirty, but I don't think he'd do it again. If he does it again, then he's never getting another title fight. So I think he would do anything he could to step inside of the cage. Now, for Money Moicano, something tells me that there's either a Dariush rebooking or maybe they do the Michael Chandler fight. Chandler Moicano is really not that far-fetched. Chandler coming off loss to Charles Oliveira is only big recent win. Beats old man T-Ferg. I kind of like the idea of doing Moicano in a fun fight and giving him Chandler. He did the UFC a big favor stepping in. Now, he did kind of get embarrassed. Like, it couldn't have gone worse. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you guys agree with that? Let me know in the comments what you think about what I'm saying here. I feel as though it could not have gotten worse for Money Moicano. Like, yeah, he could have got knocked out in 30 seconds, but like it really couldn't have. He got finished in the first round and he looked to be levels below the best lightweight on the planet. I don't think he beats Dustin Poirier. I'm not confident he beats Gamrot. I don't even know how he would have fared against Beneil. I mean, there's still the Paddy Pimblett fight. Maybe then they push towards Paddy Pimblett Moicano now. I guess that could kind of make sense, but Paddy's win is Bobby Green and Moicano fighting for a belt. You get why we're in a weird circumstance. Michael Chandler doesn't deserve to be ranked ahead of really any of the top 10. He's got back-to-back losses, Poirier, Oliveira. He took years out of the game. Michael Chandler and Renato Moicano makes sense to me. I think that could be the fight that ends up coming to fruition. But I obviously have a lot of interest in seeing the Paddy Pimblett fight. And I've talked about this, for a while. I would love to see Paddy Pimblett, Renato Moicano, and it would be so cool if they could coach tough. But the UFC decides to announce our tough coaches. If you didn't hear on broadcast, you weren't paying attention. Cormier, Chael Sonnen. Battle of the boys. 2 retired fighters, so no fight at the end. That's interesting. That's interesting. Have we ever seen 2 retired fighters coach the show before? I think this is the first time ever. I thought they would go towards like a compelling fight that they could sell, but instead they're going with the ESPN show host that they have, good guy, bad guy. They're going head-to-head against one another. I think it'll be a cool season. I'll tune in nonetheless, but it'd be pretty badass if you had Brazil versus the UK, Paddy Pimblett, Money Moicano coaching the show. I think that could work. For Moicano, it's a worst-case scenario how it ended, but he'll demand respect, and the UFC will probably do him a favor in the next one to give him a big fight. And he's definitely going to be, enjoying his paycheck. He can't afford to lose, but he could have afforded to lose that one, and he lost. The money was good in this one, and he'll make good money in the future. He's still got fights left. He even said after, I don't know if I'll ever have this chance again, but I'll try my best. I don't think he'll ever fight for a title again. This was his rocky story, and it came crashing down. Taking a title fight against Islam Makhachev, pound for pound number 1, 1 day notice. No matter who you're training for, you ain't training for Islam, bro. There's levels. There's levels. Now, I do want to review the predictions, obviously the card as well, and talk about like my score for the card. But real quick, I want to run through the picks. So obviously, Lock City parlay hit. Makhachev, Sopaj, Makhachev dominant win. I expected a finish. Thought Umar would get it done. He loses a competitive decision on the judges' scorecards. I take the L in that one. Had the underdog Prohashka to win by KO. Had Jelton to win there. Picked Holland. That turned out to be terrible. He just doesn't evolve. Doritas grappling's legit, as everybody did. Had Talbott. Picked Bekoev for the W. Picked Guskov for the W. Had some delusional faith in Diego Ferreira because he beat Gamrot. That was dumb. It was his birthday too, but no more superstitious calls. Good win for Dawson. Rosa, Pérez, had Rosa. I thought it was close, but I respect the Pérez win. You can't give up all those damn takedowns and, control. Not a good look. Obviously, pick Nakamura with low confidence compared to the odds, and Gafurov exposed him. But hey, I said he's a parlay buster. Sopaj, Lock City over Turcios. Thought he'd beat him up and win a hard fought decision. And then I had Ulanbekov Carpenter. So what is it? 1 win, 2 win, 2 and 1, 2 and 2. 2 and 3, 3-3, 4-3, 4-4, 4-5, 5-5, 6-5, 6-6, 7-6. Fucking UFC 311. But still finished with the Lock City and the favorite underdog hitting. So I'd say all things together, good performance at the end of the night for me. And I would say I'm pretty happy with the card. It's just, we could have had a war in the main event. That's not what we got. We got an easy dominance by Islam Makhachev. But that's how the game goes. I would still say this was like a 9 out of 10 card. The pay-per-view was banging. Am I overrating it a little? Maybe I'm just riding the high of the excitement. But for me, that Dvalishvili and Nurmagomedov fight was incredible. That Prohashka Hill fight was awesome. Almeida Spivak was a cool fight. The Holland was meh. Barcelos beating Talbott was shocking. Bekoev looking like a savage was awesome. Guskov winning was cool. Dawson controlling was meh. Pérez winning was okay. Gafurov winning was impressive. Sopaj and Turcios was a banger. That could be a fight of the night on some cards. Ulanbekov, wasn't great. It was okay. I'll drop the score. We'll go. So 8 out of 10 because the cherry on top was just such a mismatch. 8 out of 10 card. Good card. 4 out of 5 stars. Still a banger for sure. I thought it was awesome. I loved it. Live, it felt like a 10 out of 10, but really sitting and reflecting on it, I think 8's a more fair score. I hope you guys enjoyed my week's worth of content. Now, it's an off week for the UFC, but it's not an off week for me. Lunchtime lives will start today, Sunday, and then every day this week, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'll have daily content on the channel, live streams in the evening as well. So double a day live streams. Keep it locked in. Thank you guys for over 100,000 views live during the Fight Companion. That was incredible, and we were popping off. I appreciate everybody for consistently watching the show. Let me know what you thought of the card in the comments, and definitely, I don't know, drop some fights to make next. I want to hear from my people. Now, if you got nothing to say in the comments, we just enjoy W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. I appreciate you all for the support. Thank you all for tuning in. Please smash the likes. Please subscribe if you really like what you're hearing, or even if you kind of like and you want to just see me more often. Even if you disagree and you're like, I hate this guy, let me just sub. Keep it locked in. But you'll probably love the channel. I'd say mostly it's all love. And turn the post notifications on too. Put them on all, not just personalized, because you don't want to miss a video or a live stream. Thanks for watching, guys. 311 in the books, and it was a damn good one. Peace out. Good night. Bye-bye.